Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Hold no punches!
I'm real revolutionary right now. Black power.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig? Today is Wednesday, August 30th, 2023. Coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered, streaming live on the Black Star Network. Republicans continue the assault on black people in Louisiana. A federal court rejects the state's motion to cancel a hearing in the congressional redistricting case to create a second black opportunity district in that state. We'll talk to a Louisiana representative about this issue. Also, in North Carolina, they are targeting a black Supreme Court justice. The North Carolina Judicial Commission is looking into, seriously, y'all, a complaint because she said she supports diversity. I'm not lying. White Republicans in Georgia, they are attacking District Attorney Fani Willis. Literally, they are pursuing the possibility of reprimanding her for bringing charges against Donald Trump. Yep, Fox News, those racists at it again. They literally think black men are so stupid that they are going to support Donald Trump because he got a mugshot. And AI is becoming more prevalent, and concerns about its potential dangers and impact on our identities are rising. We'll talk with an intellectual property attorney about this issue. It is time to bring the funk. I'm Roland Martin Unfiltered, streaming live on the Black Star Network. Let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the miss, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, y'all. It's Roland Martin, rolling with Roland now. He's funk, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's Roland Martin now.
I have told y'all repeatedly, the Republican Party does not give a damn about black people. In Louisiana, they are fighting hard to prevent the creation of a second congressional district for African Americans. Yep, the Supreme Court, remember, sent a case back to the state court where the state is trying its best not to follow previous ruling. Secretary of State Kyle Ardon tried to have an upcoming hearing canceled, but on Tuesday, the Middle District Court in Louisiana denied that motion, and the October 3rd hearing will go ahead as planned. Joining me now, Baton Rouge State Representative Denise Marcel. Denise, glad to have you on the show. So Representative Marcel, again, for people out there who don't understand, Louisiana has a sizable black population. A federal court ruled that black voters, again, when they looked at how the districts were drawn, there should be a second black district. The exact same thing happened in Alabama. Well, the white Republicans in Louisiana are not happy about that.
You're absolutely correct, and thank you for having me on. Actually, I filed a bill on the House side, HB 4, to say that we should have the second congressional black district. The courts ruled that we were in violation of the Voters' Rights Act in Louisiana by not passing those districts. And, of course, as you have said, they don't want to listen to the law. They don't care about the law. They just want power.
Again, for folks who don't know, what is the percentage of blacks in Louisiana?
So we should actually have a minimum of 2, but at least it could go up to as much as 3. There should be 2 black districts, and then there should be an opportunity district as well. So it's a third. And we have 6 congressional seats, and they only want to give us 1 congressional district. And they have defied everything that the law has said, everything that the judge has said, in an attempt to keep power over all of the districts except for the one that they've given us.
Can you explain a black district and an opportunity district?
Yes, I can. So in Louisiana, the most populated areas for African Americans is obviously New Orleans, where the district is drawn, and certainly Baton Rouge is another area where we definitely have to have representation, and we have more blacks in those areas. I think it's like 52% in Baton Rouge. So we can elect 2 black people to represent us in Congress. The opportunity district is maybe a little bit shy of that, and so that means that we have at least an opportunity to elect someone. We may not win it, but at least we could get somebody that's maybe not so far on the other side of what we believe in, and have them to go ahead.
Well, the opportunity district, what it does, though, it shows that African Americans could play a major role in determining who wins. So you have 6.
Correct.
So you have 6 total. So what they're fearing, not only are they fearing black power, they also know that black people are likely to vote Democrat. And so they now have 5 Republicans, 1 Democrat, Congressman Troy Carter. What they're afraid of is having literally 3 Republicans and 3 Democrats.
Correct. That is absolutely correct. You're correct.
And go ahead.
Go ahead. No, and I was just going to say, we fought very hard in the House, and we couldn't even get those bills out of the committees. Particularly, they had set what they were going to do. We did a road show. We talked to people to see what people wanted, and it did not matter. It was just they just went through the steps, but knowing all the time that they were not going to allow us to come out of there with a district, although the judge has said that they are in violation of Section 2 of the Voter Rights Act.
And really what we're seeing here, I mean, look, the Republicans in Alabama have made it clear that they are freaking out by this because, again, Republicans hold a slim lead in the House of Representatives, and the pathway to Democrats regaining power shockingly could come through the South.
That's correct. If they were going to do what the law requires them to do, and it appears that they're not on that page at all.
Well, we're going to be watching this. Keep up the fight there. It really is an important issue. And this is just one of the reasons why I keep saying to our people why we have to vote, why we must use that power, because they're doing everything to keep us from actually having power.
Absolutely. I just left the Southern University, and I was registering all of the band members a few minutes ago, and that's exactly what I said to them. This is all about power. This is about your voting rights and using those rights to put people in places that represent what you want to see happen. And they are absolutely afraid of that, the Republicans are, and they don't mind doing what the law says not to do in order to get what they want.
Indeed. Representative Marcel, we surely appreciate you joining us. Thanks a lot.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining, asking me to join.
Thank you very much. Got to go to a break. We come back. We're going to talk about North Carolina. We're going to talk about Georgia. Again, folks, I'm telling y'all, understand what is going on in front of us. Republicans, white Republicans, do not give a damn about black people. My book is called White Fear. They are afraid of black power. We're going to continue that conversation with our panel when we come back and discuss these other two issues as well. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered right here on the Black Star Network.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol, we've seen
We're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
Next on The Frequency with me, Dee Barnes. We're going to talk to Leslie Segar, a.k.a. Big Les, and talk about her incredible career as a dancer, choreographer, and VJ of Rap City.
Magic Johnson was there, so half the NBA was there. Iman the supermodel, so all the supermodels were there every day. Actors,
right.
Like it was a who's who of who's who.
Right here on The Frequency in the Black Star Network.
Hi, everybody. I'm Kim Coles.
Hey, I'm Donnie Simpson.
Yo, it's your man Deion Cole from Blackish, and you watch
Roland Martin Unfiltered.
All right, folks, let's bring in my panel right now. We, of course, we have Rebecca Carruthers, Vice President, Fair Election Center out of D.C., Dr. Mustafa Santiago Ali, former Senior Advisor for Environmental Justice at the EPA, Scott Bolden, attorney based here in D.C. As well. Glad to have all three of you here. Rebecca, I want to start with you. Look, run the numbers. It's very clear. The Congressional Black Caucus right now has the largest delegation of Democrats in the caucus, about 58 members. Governor of Florida, Governor Ron DeSantis, used his power. He basically blew off the legislature and destroyed 2 black districts there. Alabama fought the creation of a second black district. Louisiana fought the creation of a second black district. Right now, there literally could be 62 members of the Black Caucus. What they are afraid of, they do not want to see the expansion of black power, and they're doing everything they can to stop it from moving forward.
Roland, there's been a clarion call with Black folks in this country. There's been a call for reverse migration, for folks to return back to the South and back to their Southern roots. And we have seen that happen over the last decade. And as a result, there's an increase in the population of Black folks in the South. I'm thinking about Louisiana. Louisiana is over 34% Black. When I think about North Carolina, it's over 22% Black. And so based upon proportional representation, we know that there should be more than just one Black protected seat in Louisiana, just like we know there should be more than one Black protected seat in Alabama, especially when you consider the Black Belt and when you even see how the Black congressional seat in Alabama is so gerrymandered and drawn. It's not even an amoeba or a spider. It's just this really weird shape that doesn't even follow the rules of where congressional districts are supposed to be contiguous, meaning that the lines have to connect with each other, and it also has to be compact, and it also have to have people, similar types of people, or a compact community of interest. that's placed within that congressional district. So what we see is we do see that there are Republicans who are trying to draw districts in a way to disenfranchise Black voters. And I think we reached the tipping point where that just can't happen anymore because the population shift has been too great.
The thing here, Scott, and this is what I keep saying this, and I know I sound like a broken record to our audience. There is a reason why we have to have aggressive civil rights lawyers, because what these Republicans are doing, they thought with a 6-3 hard right Supreme Court majority, we can just do a cakewalk. John Roberts led of the destruction of the Voting Rights Act. They were all shocked and stunned with this Supreme Court decision. And what they're hoping to defy the federal courts, and they hope they can pick up that fifth vote by saying, well, we put a few more Black people in the district in Alabama, and they're going to try the exact same thing in Louisiana and hope that passes muster with the white Supreme Court justices. Scott, you're on mute.
The Supreme Court has said that doesn't get it. That doesn't get you to the end zone. And I got to tell you, when a 6-3 majority tells you that your gerrymandering and the way you're drawing these maps is not acceptable, my first reaction was it wasn't even acceptable to the 6-3 majority. It had to be pretty bad. Now, they can defy them and try to go back, but I got to tell you, precedent is still the law of the land, and it's not going to be a welcome sight. I was surprised the Supreme Court sent it back to Alabama and it sent it back to another state. They were sending them a message that you can do as much as you can, but you got to make it politically and legally acceptable, and it was not that. I often wonder, though, whether it's racism at the state level or simple politics. But the Republicans know that their policies are unpopular, they cannot win fair and square, and as a result, Black people are the easiest to target because of that 6-3 majority. I haven't figured out, it may be both, if you will, but one thing's for sure. One answer to this is that Black people have got to figure out that voting up and down the ballot is important, both at the federal level and the state level. And until they do that, until the bell goes off, then you're going to have these challenges. Roland, 20 years ago, the Voting Rights Act was off the table regarding partisanship. Republicans and Democrats, as a formality, passed the reinstatement of the Voting Rights Act, especially Section 5 and Section 2, and now we're so partisanship, and because 2043 is coming, right? 2043 is coming, we're going to be a country of color. The Republicans know that, and so they've got to do voter suppression in order to maintain power as long as they can. We're letting them do it by feeding into the fact that we just won't vote up and down the line. Or as you say, we won't vote more in the areas we need to be voting.
That's why, look, when you said I'm not quite sure if it's politics or race, Mustafa, it's both. It's politics and race. This is no different than the period after Reconstruction. What we're seeing right now is a repeat of the period after Reconstruction. It is a repeat of the 1890 Mississippi Constitutional Convention, where they said, we are tired of seeing Black folks elected. We're going to change the rules. The Republican Party, let me be perfectly clear, the Republican Party made a decision as a party, as their national policy, we are going to target Black people. They have been pissed off with the turnout of Black people with the election of President Barack Obama, North Carolina, Georgia, Texas, Florida, South Carolina, Mississippi, Alabama, Arkansas, Louisiana, and we've seen this in Iowa. We've seen this in Maine. These people are diabolical in what they're doing, so it is absolutely race, it is absolutely political.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, this is Jim Crow 2.0, if we want to frame it that way. I've worked in Louisiana, so I know both the state politics and I also understand the impacts that continue to happen. You got 1.5 million Black folks who are there. And they continue to sacrifice our rights. They continue to also ignore the law. So I think that that sends a very clear message. If the Supreme Court has told you that you have to do something, and then you continue to drag your feet, and you continue to sort of thumb your nose also at them, then it's pretty clear that they don't care what happens to Black folks. So I think that we also just got to be very, very clear with folks that you got power in this situation. The power, of course, is being able to properly mobilize individuals, and that means that we have to get the resources on the ground today. Actually, it should have been there yesterday to better prepare folks, to educate folks about the power that exists inside of your vote, but also what's at stake. Because it is about your life. It is about the resources that also are tied to political power. And it is also about what the future will look like, not only for yourself, but for your children. So we have a responsibility in this moment, not just from our community, but others who say they are allies, to do what's necessary to address the egregious actions that are happening, but also to get people prepared to vote.
And what they're also, again, doing, they are diluting. Check this out. This is what Louisiana claimed, Rebecca, when they were going before the Supreme Court. This is a piece from NBC News. Said the broader implication of the legal argument is based on are even more alarming. Louisiana is claiming that only Black Americans who choose Black or Black and white on census forms should be considered Black for the purposes of drawing racially inclusive congressional districts. They claim that those who identify as multiracial, say Black and Latino or Black and Asian, were wrongly used to bolster the calculations for Black minority opportunity zones. They want to redefine Black to actually push out certain Black people, and that's why I keep telling these dumbass ADOS people and these dumbass FBA people who attack Black immigrants, you're stupid, because 10% of the Black population today in the United States are Black immigrants. And so if you're helping Republicans with that argument by saying it.
So, like, first of all, Roland, for Louisiana to even try to define and say what Black is, this is the same Louisiana that had the 1/8 rule, the 1-drop rule, the octoroon rule, the quadroon rule. But now they're going to determine on who's Black and who's not. And then I will also say understanding the history of Louisiana, especially its connection to those Afro-Caribbeans who went back and forth between Louisiana and within the Caribbean across a variety of islands. So even like the history of Louisiana, I don't think Louisiana gets to tell Black folks who gets to determine who's Black. And I mean, I couldn't even get past that, and I can't believe they even submitted that type of argument, knowing Louisiana's history.
Well, again, what people have to understand, Scott, these are the legal maneuverings of Republicans. This is what they are doing. They're perfectly clear in doing it, and so folks have to understand they're trying every possible way to limit Black power.
Well, I just want you to know that the white racist Republicans in Louisiana, their ancestors are turning over in their grave because they are now no more 1-drop rule. Next thing you're going to do, you're going to be able to marry their daughters and granddaughters because 1 drop of Blackness does not make you Black anymore. Hallelujah, I guess. I don't know. But my goodness gracious, white people are so arrogant and so privileged, they want to now define what's Black or not Black. They hate Black people and brown people, but for voting rights purposes and redistricting, they want to tell you what's Black and what's not Black. You can't be African, you can't be Caribbean, you can't be French. You got to be 100% American Negro in order to count for your census and for your redistricting. I've heard everything.
Well,
that's my comment.
Mustafa, keep in mind that, again, this is nothing new here. This same story shows this here. And go to my iPad. In 1970, Louisiana passed the Black Blood Law, which was an effort to mathematically determine race. The law determined a Louisianan to be white if he or she possessed 1/32 or less of Negro blood. Now, the law was overturned was banned in 1983, and again, it was very similar to the one-drop rule. This is what you're dealing with, and again, for everybody to understand something, that law was passed in 1970. I'll be 55 in November, which means that somebody who was in the legislature then, they could still be there, and they got sons and daughters. Let's just be real clear what's going on here. This is an outright attempt to absolutely limit black power, black political power. And everybody who's watching, Mustafa, when I keep saying limit black power, that now means resources to black people. That means federal dollars. That means dollars for schools, for roads, for construction, jobs, health care. So I need black folks to understand that what we're talking about here has a direct impact on the financial, and the economic, and the educational condition of our community.
Without a doubt. I mean, the folks have continued to try and manipulate the law. They've tried to continue to manipulate also policy, which is tied to the law. And we've seen that this has been going on now for hundreds of years, but in all of our lifetimes, as you pointed out, since the 70s, if you only want to go back to that period in time. And it is about power, it's about resources, and we have to understand that this is a part of a strategic set of actions. These folks are not just pulling stuff out of the sky. This is a part of a strategy to remove power from the black community, but to also make sure that they are building a foundation so that as America continues to get browner and browner, that they will continue to be able to hold on to the resources and to make the decisions. So understand the game, recognize game, get prepared, and let's make sure that we are doing what's necessary to build the partnerships and to address what's happening in this moment.
The last point I'll make is this here, and this is what I need everybody to understand, and this is the problem that I have. And y'all keep hearing me talk about why we must use our power. Go to my iPad. This is November 2022. This was the early voting in Louisiana. And you'll see here that 24% of the early vote was black voters. Now, you see this story, pollster John Covillion. The article says blacks make up just over 30% of all Louisiana voters, and most are Democrat. When Democrats have gotten out the vote in early voting, it led to victories for their party. In 2008, when Mary Landrieu and Barack Obama won Louisiana by big margins, and in 2015, 2019, when John Bel Edwards won both his terms in office. Covillion says when the black early vote slips below 25%, Republicans generally win substantially. Y'all see that? So let me say this here to black folks in Louisiana. Gary Chambers told us the exact same thing. The numbers are abysmal. And so here we are fighting for a second black congressional district. But part of the problem here is that black folks are not turning out in proper numbers in Louisiana. Y'all repeatedly have heard me say that we have to be voting at 65, 70, and 75% of our numbers. If we do that, we literally are controlling elections. And so we can't complain about what we're not getting when we are not showing up. Now, I know people then say, well, Roland, people are dissatisfied and people have to be motivated to vote. Okay, here's the vote motivation. You ain't gonna get shit if you don't vote. So when you say I want something, and if you're in Louisiana and there are 6 members of Congress and 5 Republican and 1 Democrat and 5 hard right-wing Republicans like Clay Higgins, what you think you're gonna get? So at some point, we're going to have to understand that literally our power is sitting at home on the couch, in front of a television, playing on social media, and standing on a street corner. I'm telling y'all, if we maximize our vote and white voters stay right here, we can dominate elections nationwide, especially in the South. And speaking of the South, we come back. We're going to talk about North Carolina and Georgia, where Republicans, white Republicans, are attacking 2 black women. I'll explain. You're watching on YouTube, hit the like button. Also, support us by downloading the Black Star Network app, Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Xbox One, Samsung Smart TV. You can also join our Bring the Funk fan club. Send your check and money orders to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. Cash App, $RM Unfiltered. PayPal, R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com, Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. And be sure to get a copy of my book, White Fear, How the Browning of America is Making White Folks Lose Their Minds. I'll be right back.
You go into a barbershop in a 700 credit score neighborhood, black or white, they're talking about their ideas and they're talking about how they're going to move on those things. You go to a barbershop in a 500 credit score, equal brilliance, but bad culture, they're talking about other people. You go to a winner's barbershop, here's what I'm doing. You go to the barbershop of where people feel defeated, they're talking about other people, either celebrities or people they admire, but also often, I don't like Joe. I don't like Roland Martin. Well, let me tell you something. I don't understand people. How could you not like anything here you see? You should just be like, this is amazing. It's cool. You may not even like how he does it or how I do it, but it's like, you know what? They're succeeding. They're killing it. All you should be is, that's fantastic. But if I don't like me, I'm not gonna like you. If I don't feel good about me, it's hard for me to feel good about you. If I don't respect me, don't expect me to respect you. If I don't love me, I don't have a clue how to love you. And here's the big one. If I don't have a purpose in my life, I'm gonna make your life a living hell.
Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture, weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
Hello, I'm Marissa Mitchell, a news anchor at Fox 5 DC.
Hey, what's up? It's Tammy Roman, and you are watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
All right, folks, go to my iPad. You see this black woman right here? Her name is Anita Earls. She sits on the North Carolina Supreme Court. The Republicans on the North Carolina Judicial Commission, they're going after her. Why? Did she take any money? Nope. Bribes? Nope. Did she take lavish vacations with billionaire donors like Clarence Thomas? Nope. Did she change her position like Clarence Thomas? Nope. Guess what? They literally are coming after her and want her removed from the Supreme Court because she says she supports diversity. She spoke, now this is an article by Slate.com. Watch this right here. It says, Earls, the only black woman on the North Carolina's High Court, spoke out about racial bias in her courtroom. She spoke about the few clerks of color the court employed and how her colleagues treated certain attorneys, including a black woman who argued before them. Now they are targeting her. She was like, you know what? I ain't gonna play that game. Y'all wanna sit here and come after me, so I'm gonna fight back. So Earls has been doing that, and so what did she do? She said, I'm hitting y'all ass with a federal lawsuit. Go to my iPad. She filed a complaint in the district court requesting a declaratory judgment and injunction to stop the Judicial Standards Commission from continuing to investigate and potentially punishing her for exercising her First Amendment rights and speaking about the lack of diversity in the state judiciary. The commission, which oversees compliance with the Code of Judicial Conduct, reviews and investigates complaints of misconduct made against judges and justices. Now, most recently, on August 15, 2023, the commission indicated its intent to investigate Earls for an interview in a legal news publication in which she discussed the North Carolina Supreme Court's recent record on issues relating to diversity. In a letter to Earls and her counsel, the commission said her comments potentially violate a provision of the code which requires judges to conduct themselves, quote, in a manner that promotes public confidence in the integrity and impartiality of the judiciary. This is what she said. Now go back, please, thank you. The First Amendment provides me and every American the right to free speech and to bring to light imperfections and unfairness in our political and judicial systems. I believe that public confidence in the judiciary is best promoted by honestly looking at the facts, not by sweeping the truth under the rug or silencing dissenters. Scott, seriously, they are saying you have the audacity to say you support diversity, you got to go.
And she said it in a very constructive manner. The numbers are what the numbers are. The truth is that diversity is powerful, it helps, and better decision-makings come from people having confidence in the judicial system, and many of them, at least on civil as well as criminal sides of these cases, are people of color and Black people in North Carolina. So to say that the court needs to do better, to say that we need diversity, and diversity would be a positive if we had more of it, how is that violating judicial canons of ethics because it's reducing confidence in the courts? It's actually ensuring or advocating for greater confidence in the courts when people who come before lower courts and the Supreme Court see people that look like them at the clerk level, at the law level, lawyer level, as well as people who work in the courthouses. That's constructive advocacy. Call it constructive criticism, but nobody's reducing the importance of the courts or confidence in the courts. That just borders on the nonsensical. And yet she got to hire a lawyer and try to get a TRO on this thing, because if there are a bunch of Republicans on that judicial piece, they could care less. They will have her removed, the only African-American woman that is advocating for more diversity, but probably, I don't know this judge, but probably an outstanding jurist to get to the Supreme Court, any state Supreme Court, when you're the only Black person there. So this borders on the nonsensical. Hopefully the court will give her some judicial relief. The challenge there is that she hasn't been harmed. She may not have standing to succeed in that lawsuit because they haven't removed her yet. And very oftentimes you have to have an injury as opposed to anticipating the injury. And the courts may tell her it's not ripe for review, which would be unfortunate. I know why they're doing it. It's an aggressive move, but she may not have standing to get the relief she wants just yet.
These people are literally out of their minds. But Mustafa, I have been telling folk, this is what they are targeting Black people.
They're crazy like a fox, as my grandmother would say. You know, there are a couple different dynamics that are going on here. One, they understand the power that exists inside of judgeships, and they only feel that certain people with certain views should be allowed to be at that highest level of the judiciary, if you will. So they are also, the second point is that they are trying to make an example of her so that others who are in the judicial system will not embrace diversity, or not at least have diversity as one of the criterias that are used in decision making, and as Scott has shared, to help a process to be more fuller and inclusive, and also help to strengthen it. So that's the game that's going on. And this is, once again, why we have to make sure that we are engaging in our vote and understanding people who we can elect into certain judgeships. Of course, some of them are appointed, but also our vote is tied to those who will appoint these individuals. So again, we have power that's in this moment. The question becomes if we are going to utilize it and to also help others to understand through education the sets of opportunities that are available.
Here's why this is absolutely hilarious to me, Rebecca. In 2020, Governor Roy Cooper, Democrat, co-chaired a task force. It was called a Task Force for Racial Equity in Criminal Justice. Who was the co-chair of that? Justice Anita Earls. Go to my iPad.
You today, and to be tasked with co-leading this important group with Justice Anita Earls, whom I deeply respect. The inequities that African Americans experience, whether it's in the economy, healthcare, our schools, or the criminal justice system, are pervasive, just as they are wrong. Even today, African Americans are suffering death at greatly disproportionate rates from COVID-19. My heart aches for the families of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and so many other people who have been killed or mistreated by their own government. Any senseless act of violence is tragic, but especially so when perpetrated by those sworn to protect and defend us. It represents such a fundamental violation of the authority we grant law enforcement and the trust we place in them. It also undermines the important and hard work of the many peace officers serving our communities with dedication and compassion. Our United States Supreme Court building has the following words chiseled on its face: equal justice under law. Sadly, we remain in pursuit of this ideal. Last week, Chief Justice Sherry Beasley powerfully described some of the many shortcomings in our criminal justice system. She observed, in our courts, African Americans are more harshly treated, more severely punished, and more likely to be presumed guilty. I will add, in our communities, African Americans are more likely to be pulled over by police and more likely to die at their hands. None of this is acceptable. We have to make North Carolina a safe place for every person, no matter who you are. The Task Force for Racial Equity and Criminal Justice will consider and implement measures that can bring about meaningful change to the criminal justice system. We will review law enforcement recruitment, training, and accountability, as well as court issues, including pretrial release and the use of fines and fees. We will identify ways to build genuine trust between law enforcement and the communities they serve and protect. This is absolutely necessary today, just as it was in 1829 when Sir Robert Peel, the founder of modern policing, wrote, "The power of the police to fulfill their functions and duties is dependent on public approval of their existence, actions, and behavior, and on their ability to secure and maintain public respect." North Carolina has a tragic legacy of slavery, segregation, and racist violence that still affects our state to this day. But we have another inspiring legacy. The 1960 sit-ins in Greensboro and the hundreds of protests since, a state NAACP that filed more integration lawsuits than any other, a demonstrated willingness to adopt criminal justice reforms, and so much more. I truly believe our state can be a leader in identifying and overcoming systemic racism in our criminal justice system. And I am genuinely hopeful that this time is different. The protests have been more widespread, more persistent, and more diverse. Allies of all races are joining with black people to say no more. This movement is generating energy that you can feel, and this task force must ensure that this energy is harnessed into meaningful and lasting change to help us heal, because Black lives matter. Thank you.
Now, why did I play all of that? I played all of that, Rebecca, because it was 2020. You heard the mentioning of Sherry Beasley. At the time, she was the Chief Justice of the state Supreme Court. Democrats had a majority of the Supreme Court. He's a Democratic governor. What has changed in North Carolina? One, after November 2022, guess what? Republicans then flipped the state Supreme Court. They now control it 4-3. They now have a supermajority in the legislature. And so now they're using that power to target Democrats and definitely black people. They recently passed their voter suppression bill. You see this effort here. It is an all-out assault on black folks and democracy in North Carolina by white conservative Republicans.
You know, Roland, there's 401 votes would have made the difference in 2020. So I had an opportunity to meet Anita Earls in 2018 when she was actually running for the North Carolina Supreme Court. At the time, Sherry Beasley was in justice on the court. In 2019, Governor Cooper appointed her as the Chief Justice of that court to fill out a term because I think the Chief Justice either passed away or resigned. I don't remember which right now. But in 2020, Sherry Beasley was on the ballot. She only lost by 401 votes. She was on the ballot to actually get elected for a full term as Chief Justice. And then your audience might remember then in 2022, Sherry Beasley decided to run for U.S. Senate instead after losing by 401 votes in 2020. So had Sherry Beasley won in 2020, then we would definitely see a different court. A court with both Anita Earls and Sherry Beasley. And I would even argue that having Sherry Beasley on the court with Anita Earls, it would have provided some of the support that Anita needs during this moment as she's having to sue North Carolina.
And last one here. This is an interview that Anita Earls did with California Forward. So you're complaining that she speaks about diversity, but she has a long history in civil rights law. Duh.
Civil rights cases for 30 years in a variety of settings. And in 2016, it began to be clear to me that for the short term, our federal courts might be a challenging environment, and that we ought to also pay attention to state courts when it comes to protection of our basic rights. Yeah. That our state constitutions are a rich source of understanding about how the legal system should protect people's rights. And so that's what kind of turned my sights to state court. And in 2018, it was just an opportunity to put myself forward to say I would like to have a different role, to step away from the role of advocate representing parties and step into the role of being on the court and wrestling with the legal issues. So I'm actually really grateful to the voters of North Carolina for giving me this chance to serve.
So, all right, Scott, so you heard her clearly say there, my focus on state courts. And I have been saying this to our followers. You heard Rebecca lay out there, Beasley lost by 401 votes. There were a lot of black people in North Carolina who did not vote in that election. And the thing that we have to understand is that if we exercise the state power and we maximize our vote on the state level, it's not just for president, for congressional races, for U.S. Senate. When you also control the state Supreme Court, then you can also stop a lot of these far right-wing Republican efforts to attack black people.
And you have a brilliant jurist just in that video. Brilliant, well-spoken, civil rights lawyer. Who wouldn't want her on the Supreme Court? Black, white, yellow, or brown. and they want to remove her. With Cherie, who spoke out again for diversity, they didn't go after her. Now, you explained that the Dems controlled it, right? But nevertheless, doesn't really matter because they're going after her now as opposed to Cherie. And despite the politics, there's some history here of not attacking Supreme Court justices in North Carolina who speak about not just diversity, but the racism in the state court system. And so you got to vote up and down ballot, and you got to vote early and often. I grew up in Chicago. I've been voting since I was 13, but that's another story. But I wish we could vote more often in these states and these jurisdictions, because that's why this Judicial Commission can remove her. They have the power to remove her if she doesn't win this lawsuit. Then they're going to appoint somebody else, maybe white. You can see how the ramifications continue to just knock down these blocks. And then it's black women, man. Have you noticed black female prosecutors, black female judges just get the ire of white conservatives at the state level, even federal level? I mean, they're just the unmitigated attacks on black women lawyers and judges. It's just unbelievable, and just naked aggression towards them. And the process has to run its course, and there's nobody to stop it. Why? Because Republicans are in control of many of these investigations and prosecutions going on. Another reason why black people need to be voting more often at the state level.
And there you go. Hold tight 1 second, folks. We come back. We will talk about how Republicans are now trying to go after, another black woman, this time in Georgia, Fulton County DA Fani Willis. Do y'all see the theme here? Why did I write my book, White Fear? How the browning of America is making white folks lose their minds? They are targeting black elected officials, which means they are targeting you because you dared to put these people into office. Also, breaking news, the State Attorney General of New York, Tish James, she wants a judge to go after Donald Trump. She says, and I'll tell you how much she claims he overvalued his properties. We'll explain that next on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. YouTube folks, hit the like button. Y'all sitting there riding for free? It ain't hard. Hit the like button. We should easily be at 2,000 likes on YouTube right now. So please do so. I'll be right back.
Next on the Black Table with me, Greg Carr. Brown versus the Board of Education. The history books call it the court decision that ended racial segregation in American schools. But a brand new book, Jim Crow's Pink Slip, uncovers a devastating unintended consequence of that 1954 Supreme Court decision.
We may, if we were lucky, have been the very last generation of Black students to have experienced these generations of Black teachers who have never been replaced.
Dr. Leslie Fenwick joins us to talk about her book and the actions following that landmark decision that dealt a virtual death blow to Black educators. That's next on the Black Table, right here on the Black Star Network.
On a Next to Balanced Life with me, Dr. Jackie. Summer is flying by and back to school is just around the corner and fall is here. That's right, a new season is upon us. On our next show, we talk about jumping into action and putting procrastination in the rearview mirror. That's on a Next, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie here on Black Star Network.
Up next on The Frequency with me, Dee Barnes, we're going to talk to Leslie Segar, a.k.a. Big Les, and talk about her incredible career as a dancer, choreographer, and VJ of Rap City.
Magic Johnson was there, so half the NBA was there. Iman the supermodel, so all the supermodels were there every day. Actors, right. Like it was a who's who of who's who.
Right here on The Frequency in the Black Star Network.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
There's As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol, we've seen shooting.
We're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
Hello, I'm Jamia Pugh. I am from Coatesville, Pennsylvania, just an hour right outside of Philadelphia.
My name is Jasmine Pugh. I'm also from Coatesville, Pennsylvania.
You are watching Roland Martin Unfiltered. Stay right here.
Well, you got some Republicans in Georgia. They're pissed off at Fani Willis, the Fulton County DA, because she dared indict Donald Trump and 18 others on RICO charges. Georgia State Senate Majority Leader Steve Gooch said in a recent interview that Republican leaders could hold hearings into whether Willis is using her position in a political manner for accusing Trump and his 18 co-defendants of trying to overturn the 2020 election. He says he sees Senate Bill 92, a new law empowering a state panel to investigate and oust wayward prosecutors, as a powerful, quote, tool in the toolbox that, unquote, that Trump's allies can deploy to delve into Willis's use of public resources. Now, Congressman Andrew Clyde wants to use an upcoming appropriations bill to slash federal funding for attorneys who've dared to charge Trump. Defund the cops. And also that nutcase Marjorie Taylor Greene, she's pushing for a House Judiciary Committee investigation into how much Willis's office received in federal dollars and whether it is interacted with White House officials during the state's election probe. This is real simple, Mustafa. And again, what you see here, now here's what I love. Was this a political process? Fani Willis has an elected position. That's one. She indicted them for interfering with the election. That's political. Yeah, dumbasses, it's politics.
Yeah, but you're expecting them to be able to actually have some intelligence and to be able to use their minds and understand this process. Attorney Willis has been very clear. This is about the facts and the law. And if Donald Trump hadn't done what he did, allegedly, then he wouldn't be in this situation that he finds himself in. And these folks would not need to try and manipulate the system to gain some power over what's actually going on. So anytime you talk about appropriations and being able to utilize those and take those away from those who you feel are not in alignment with what you believe in, then we have a problem. We have a problem because that takes us back in history when folks used to control the company's store, and if you were a black person who wasn't doing or saying what they wanted, then they could cut you off, or a local bank. So we see these types of dynamics that have played out decade upon decade, century upon century, and now they are bringing it forward again in 2023 and trying to use it as a tool of manipulation.
The Georgia Speaker of the House, Rebecca, John Burns, gotta give him credit. This is what he actually said. A select few, go to my iPad, a select few are calling to defund a duly elected district attorney of this state and her office in an attempt to interfere with the criminal justice system. Regardless of your views of this case, removing this funding would also have the unintended consequence of causing a delay or complete lack of prosecution of other serious offenses like murder, rape, armed robbery, gang prosecution, battery, etc. If we are concerned about the levels of serious crime in Atlanta, this move would obviously be harmful to the public safety. It is unfortunate some would knowingly suggest such a reckless course of action despite the devastating effects it would have. Now, this is what, and then he says, while we as the General Assembly do have appropriating power over any agency or branch of state government to reduce the pay of an individual DA is wrong. Thank God you got a sensible Republican in Georgia, Rebecca.
So, I have a few friends from law school who are prosecutors in Georgia. And I had this conversation with them last month once that bill was passed, which actually allows for the task force to review at what level are certain things prosecuted, what are prosecutions that are ignored or passed on, really undermining prosecutorial discretion in Georgia. And one of my questions to them was, what are the large firms saying about this? I would think any large or even national firm in Georgia will have a dedicated interest in making sure that the judiciary in Georgia is protected. Or even what is the Georgia Bar Association saying about this? Because regardless of your politics, you do not want Georgia lawmakers deciding that they want to undermine and determine how prosecutors choose to charge in some cases and decline to charge in other cases.
Here's what Speaker Burns, go back to my iPad. Speaker Burns said, he said, by doing this, we require reducing the pay of all DAs and ADAs across the state, your circuit included, through the adoption of legislation. Targeting one specific DA in this manner certainly flaunts the idea of separation of powers, if not outright violates it. We as members of the General Assembly have sworn to uphold the Constitution of the state of Georgia, these United States, and the laws thereof. We trust that our criminal justice system will deal with this matter impartially and fairly, and we will not improperly intercede in this matter in direct contradiction to the oaths we took. Well, praise the Lord. But we've seen in Texas how Republicans have targeted Harris County specifically. This is what Republicans have done. They have been so malicious that they have said, oh yeah, we're pissed off at you. We're going to target you directly.
Mm-hmm. Hey, we're going to talk about racism and the law now. And I know it's hard for you to listen to me sometimes, Roland, but you should listen.
It's hard to listen to you a lot of times, but go ahead.
Yeah, I know. But let me tell you something. Now, a prosecutor's stock and trade is their discretion. The voters of Fulton County elected her for her discretion and to keep them safe. They elected Marilyn Mosby in Maryland, Kim Foxx in Chicago. Now you have these new laws being passed when black people are being elected prosecutors. You didn't have it when they were white men and white women because they trusted the judgment of those that looked like them. But when black women and black men begin to have that power and the discretion, this legislature wants to substitute their judgment for that of Fani Willis. And every other black prosecutor, you see them passing these laws now, which is wholly inappropriate because the legislature has nothing to do with the executive. The prosecutor is in the executive branch. The legislature is in the legislative branch. But you have these conservative Republicans who don't trust. Their privilege doesn't trust the judgment of a black woman in this case. Oh, and by the way, did you read the indictment against Donald Trump and those other 18 people? It was a speaking indictment. It's okay to believe that the election was stolen from you or that you won, but the affirmative acts, the factual predicate, the underlying crimes that were committed based on bad conduct of white conservatives that bring integrity to our election system, the Republicans have just completely abandoned that, and now they want to take money from black prosecutors who would dare to prosecute Donald Trump. Although he's been prosecuted 4 times, or going to be prosecuted 4 times, 91 felony counts. For him to get out of that, he got to run the table. No one in the history of America has beat 91 felony counts. And if you don't plead out and you get convicted of one of those, 1, maybe 2 or more, you're going to jail. I don't care who you are. Donald Trump is going to jail if he gets convicted. So you juxtapose that with this discretion or this legislation that wants to cut funding. Even the feds want to cut funding from Alvin Bragg and these other folks for the audacity. Their white privilege that they did not earn is driving these legislative decisions to undermine the discretion of these very talented and brilliant black people who would dare to serve as prosecutors. That's what's going on. That's the racism, and that's the undermining of the law and the legal minds of black people who are prosecutors at the state level. It's got to stop.
Well, speaking of that, Scott.
Thank you for listening to me.
Yeah, okay, all right, got you. See? The Attorney General out of New York State, this breaking news, she wants a judge to make it clear that Donald Trump, go to my iPad, Donald Trump overvalued his properties by up to $2.2 billion. Of course, he's a civil trial in New York in October, and she's saying point blank, they constantly lied about the assets, lied in trying to get loans and things of that nature. And oh boy, talk about going after his neck, Scott. Now, granted, this is civil, but this hits his ego because remember, everything is about, I'm a rich man, I'm a billionaire. And she's like, nah, you're a fraud.
Yeah. And what she's going to do is she's going to use, this is what real estate developers do. They undervalue their property for assessment purposes and to save taxes. They overvalue it when they want to get loans against those properties. And so they're two inconsistent positions. And what Tish James, my law school classmate, is going to do, she's going to look at the tax information they submitted. She's going to look at the loan information that he got from several banks, right, to borrow against these properties and say, they're completely inconsistent. One of them was a lie. The court's going to figure out, or the jury's going to figure out who's lying about what, but you can't have these two inconsistent pieces. Real estate developers do it all the time. That's how he's going to be found liable and have to pay back $2 billion or more. And it's going to be an easy case to try. A lot of documents, but in the end, you got a lie here on the left, a lie here on the right, somebody lying and somebody's liable, and that's going to be the Trump Organization and Donald Trump, who was CEO and founder.
Well, Rebecca, this is from the New York Times. Go to my iPad. Before any of those criminal trials will take place, Mr. Trump is scheduled for a civil trial in New York in October. During the trial, the Attorney General, Letitia James, will seek to bar him and 3 of his children from leading their family business, the Trump Organization, and to require him to pay a fine of around $250 million. She said the fraud was so pervasive, she said in the court filing, that Mr. Trump had falsely boosted his net worth by between $812 million and $2.2 billion each year over the course of a decade. Quote, based on the undisputed evidence, no trial is required for the court to determine that defendants presented grossly and materially inflated asset values.
You know, they need to go after him like they did those who did this type of puffery with getting PPP loans. Like, this still sounds like it's some level of security fraud. And like, I hear what Scott was saying, that yes, Tish James is doing this through through the civil side, but I'm really trying to understand, maybe Scott can enlighten us, why can't we go after him for security fraud? Because if we're able to prove that he did puffery up to $2.2 billion, which is very materially significant, that seems like there's a crime that was committed. Because the last time I checked, you cannot lie about income when you are applying for a loan. Like, that is a financial instrument, and then that's how we get into the realm of security fraud.
Mustafa, again, this is what the New York Times reporting on this filing, which was unsealed moments ago. Go to my iPad. In her new filing, she wrote that given the way that the worth of Trump Tower was calculated in 2018, it was overvalued by nearly $175 million. The following year, she said, the value of the building was falsely boosted by nearly $323 million. To Scott's point, Mustafa, this is what they said, quote, at the end of the day, this is a documents case. The filing unsealed on Wednesday said, adding that the documents left not a shred of doubt that Mr. Trump's annual financial statements, quote, do not even remotely reflect the estimated current value of his assets.
Those letters and numbers on those pieces of paper tell the truth. And they also highlight the lies that were told and the over-evaluations, and he will be held accountable. As Scott said, it's going to be hard to get around that one.
Well, and they also are claiming, the Trump people are saying that, well, a recent decision said that, well, a lot of this stuff happened too long ago and should not be a part of this whole decision here. But Scott, one of the things that I want people to understand, and a lot of people don't understand this, is that when you fill out that loan document, that's a federal document, and you misstate your income, you misstate your assets, guess what? You can go to jail. Now, a former Texas Attorney General, Democrat, guess what? He went to prison. And so this was somebody who many people talked about could be a future governor one day. But the reality is he filled out loan applications, misstated income. That's how they got his ass. He went to prison.
And that's how they get a lot of people. So on every loan document, mortgage application, bank document, because banks are federally regulated, right? And so at the end, there's the statement at the end of that application that you sign is that you swear on the penalty of perjury that the answers to these questions and the information contained herein is fully accurate and truthful. Sometimes it may qualify to the best of your knowledge, but very often these bank loan documents don't put that qualifier in there. And so you're swearing to it. If you lie, right, you can be criminally prosecuted at the federal level for false statements, loan fraud, mortgage fraud, making not just a false statement, but also conspiracy. If you do it on an ongoing basis, conspiracy to defraud, conspiracy to make false statements. And if you're inflating it up to $2.2 billion and they can show it, statute of limitations is 5 years, right? But if you add a conspiracy charge, that waives that 5 years. Someone, whether it's the feds or the state prosecutors, ought to be looking at that. They may have just passed on it because their discretion. But here again, you're right, Rebecca, a $2.2 billion overestimation over 10 years on several properties, right? That's organized crime. That's a purposeful effort, conspiracy to defraud banks. And you know, this is what he does. He overvalues, then he fails to pay the money back, and then he negotiates because the bank has too much exposure, and then they give him a deal, and he writes off the rest and hides it in his taxes and his accountants and what have you. So the criminal piece of this is real. So it may not be prosecuted, but it's real.
So folks, go to my iPad here. Again, the person I'm speaking of, former Texas Attorney General Dan Morales. This is from the Texas Tribune. It says right here, in one set of charges, Morales is accused of moving $400,000 from his campaign accounts to his personal accounts, then using the money to buy a $775,000 home. He's charged with lying on the application for a $600,000 mortgage loan and with signing a federal income tax return that year that said he and his wife earned less than $40,000 in joint taxable income. The point here is that these were criminal. Dan Morales went to prison, y'all. The reality is, this is a civil trial in New York. To Scott's point, they could go after him for criminal. They're choosing not to, but his actions are indeed criminal. Hold tight 1 second. Guess who's about to have some money problems? Messing around with Donald Trump. Rudy Giuliani. Remember them two sisters he lied about in Georgia? Oh, his punk ass got hit today. Oh, yeah. His broke ass will have to make it rain. Rebecca's over there talking about he got to do this here. Well, we are talking about Georgia, and we ain't talking about Magic City, Rudy. I'll explain when we come back on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. When you talk about blackness, and what happens in black culture. We're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
On the next Get Wealthy with me, Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, I'm sure you've heard that saying that the only thing guaranteed is death and taxes. The truth is that the wealthy get wealthier by understanding tax strategy. And that's exactly the conversation that we're going to have on the next Get Wealthy, where you're going to learn wealth hacks that help you turn your wages into wealth.
Taxes is one of the largest expenses you ever have. You really got to know how to manage that thing and get that under control so that you can build wealth.
That's right here on Get Wealthy, only on Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
Hi, I'm Jo Marie Payton, voice of Sugar Mama on Disney's Louder and Prouder Disney Plus, and I'm with Roland Martin on Unfiltered.
Oh, shit. Rudy Giuliani got to pay up, y'all. That's right. He may also got to pay millions after a Georgia judge issued a default judgment against him in a defamation suit. Judge Beryl Howell, in a 57-page ruling, ordered Donald Trump's attorney to pay nearly $133,000 in sanctions to these black women who he kept lying about voter fraud. She admonished Giuliani's failure to turn over the documents as, quote, willful discovery misconduct. Fulton County election workers Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss sued Giuliani in December 2021 for saying the pair helped commit supposed election fraud during the 2020 presidential election. Now, earlier this year, the court filing, he conceded that he knowingly made false statements against the two women, but argued his comments were constitutionally protected. What the hell is that? The judge said Giuliani has to pay the fines by September 20th, which will cover Freeman's and Moss's legal fees incurred while attempting to obtain financial documents and information related to Giuliani's Common Sense podcast. A trial will determine any damages in the case. And Scott, here's what's crazy. In her ruling, she laid out that the jury will get to hear him refusing to turn over the documents, that could impact, the judgment Rudy may have to pay these sisters a whole lot of money. See what happened? And remember, Donald Trump still owes his ass $3 million in legal fees and won't even pay it.
Yeah. You know, we haven't even gotten to the damages phase yet, but he's paying their legal fees already. And he's really handled this case in a very egregious manner.
Every day, he paying the interest.
Right. You know, but really, what I don't like about this case, and it really undergirds this whole race, conservative, Republican approach to undermining our democracy in this election. They did these two sisters because they thought they were expendable. That white supremacy and white privilege, he saw them as targets. They were poor, not poor, but they're working class black people just doing their jobs. They chose those two black women because they thought they were expendable and no one would care about them. The justice would never get justice in Georgia because they were white men elected, Trump, Republican, MAGA, all of that. And this decision by the court that is going to continue to be bad for Rudolph Giuliani is showing us and telling him and Trump and others that these two black, hardworking women who were part of making democracy real at the state level, they were not expendable. You cannot just say these things and do these things. These people were threatened with violence. People drove through several states to go to their homes. They had to leave their homes. And so this is what real justice looks like for them, even if it's on the civil side. They're going to get justice on the criminal side, too, because a lot of people are going to go to jail, I predict. But this is the real justice for these two black women, and it's appropriate, and it's just good. It's a good decision and good results for her, and it's going to keep on giving them good results because of how they were victimized by Rudolph Giuliani and the Republicans.
Mustafa, I love Rudy Giuliani's attorney. This ain't right. Her ruling was too long. They literally said these are normally 2 to 3 pages. This was 57 pages. This was too long.
Oh, shit.
Mustafa, they literally complained that her ruling was too long.
Oh, no. I mean, I read it, so I heard what was going on there. You know, God don't like ugly. And you know, these types of things always end up getting addressed. You know, those sisters were walking in their purpose and their truth. Even though when they were attacked, you know, they were able to stay steadfast. And now folks are going to have to write some big checks because of all the things that those sisters had to go through and will continue to go through. So if folks are worrying about a 3 or 4 page, set of words that has been shared, that is nothing in comparison to what these sisters had to go through. So, you know, if you want to act up, you're going to write a big check to pay for your acting.
The Lincoln Project put out this video here, which features some of the testimony from these sisters. Rebecca, I want to play this and get you to comment again. I mean, Donald Trump and Rudy Giuliani attacked these sisters vehemently. I mean, they trashed them. They put their names out there. They had to move. They were scared for their life. I mean, the hell that they went through for just working an election was shameful. Watch this video.
I could have never imagined the events that followed the presidential election 2020. I've lost my name and I've lost my reputation. I've lost my sense of security, all because a group of people starting with number 45 and his ally, Rudy Giuliani, decided to scapegoat me and my daughter, Shay, to push their own lies about how the presidential election was stolen.
We had at least 18,000, that's on tape. We had them counted very painstakingly, 18,000 voters having to do with Ruby Freeman. She's a vote scammer, a professional vote scammer and hustler.
Around the week of January 6th, the FBI informed me that I needed to leave my home for safety. I can't believe this person has caused this much damage to me and my family, to have to leave my home, that I've lived there for 21 years. The President of the United States is supposed to represent every American, not to target one, but he targeted me, Lady Ruby, a small business owner, a mother, a proud American citizen who stand up to help Fulton County run an election in the middle of the pandemic.
Yo, Rebecca, take his ass, take everything.
Look, I don't know what Rudy's going to do. He's either going to have to go down to Magic City, jump on the stage, shake his moneymaker, get an OnlyFans, cut a deal, and sell a tell-all book. He's going to have to do something, because one thing that we do know, it appears that maybe Mr. Giuliani's money is a little bit tight, because didn't we see him go over to a bail bondsman to actually post his bail the other week in Fulton County? So I don't know what that money is looking like for him. But bottom line, I'm so happy for Ruby. I'm so happy for Shay. My understanding is that there's other folks that could go after, including Donald Trump. I want them to get $1 million for each tear they shed, because what they went through just by doing their civic duty was unconscionable. And to even hear Trump call them professional vote stealers and hustlers, well, it turns out the professional vote stealer and hustler, it turns out it was probably Donald Trump in this situation.
Oh, absolutely. And so I want take everything. Now, y'all, he already lost a whole bunch of money when his wife divorced his ass. And so snatch all of it. All of it. I hope they hit him with $2, $3, $4, $5, $10 million judgment, because what they did to these black women was beyond egregious. All right, y'all, gotta go to a break. We come back. Lord, the white folks at Fox News are truly out of their damn minds. These, and not even just them, these white Republicans who are kissed Donald Trump's ass so much that literally their noses are brown. They are actually saying, oh, Donald Trump gonna get the black vote because he got a mug shot. And if you black and you ride with that shit, you don't even realize that they are insulting black people. Man, wait till I play for y'all a couple of videos when we come back. Y'all think I'm lying. These people are crazy. And if y'all need any reason to vote extra hard if Trump is a nominee, I'm going to show you next on Roland Martin Unfiltered right here on the Black Star Network.
You go into a barbershop in a 700 credit score neighborhood, black or white, they're talking about their ideas and they're talking about how they're going to move on those things. You go to a barbershop at a 500 credit score, equal brilliance, but bad culture, they're talking about other people. You go to a winner's barbershop, here's what I'm doing. You go to the barbershop of where people feel defeated, they talk about other people, either celebrities or people they admire, but also often, I don't like Joe. I don't like Roland Martin. Well, let me tell you something. I don't understand people. How could you not like anything here you see? You should just be like, this is amazing. It's cool. You may not even like how he does it or how I do it, but it's like, you know what? They're succeeding. They're killing it. All you should be is, that's fantastic. But if I don't like me, I'm not gonna like you. If I don't feel good about me, it's hard for me to feel good about you. If I don't respect me, don't expect me to respect you. If I don't love me, I don't have a clue how to love you. And here's a big one. If I don't have a purpose in my life, I'm gonna make your life a living hell.
Next on the Black Table with me, Greg Carr. Brown versus the Board of Education. The history books call it the court decision that ended racial segregation in American schools. But a brand new book, Jim Crow's Pink Slip, uncovers a devastating unintended consequence of that 1954 Supreme Court decision.
We may, if we were lucky, have been the very last generation of Black students to have experienced these generations of Black teachers who have never been replaced.
Dr. Leslie Fenwick joins us to talk about her book and the actions following that landmark decision that dealt a virtual death blow to Black educators. That's next on The Black Table, right here on the Black Star Network.
Hi, my name is Freddie Ricks. I'm from Houston, Texas.
My name is Sharon Williams. I'm from Dallas, Texas.
Right now, I'm rolling with Roland Martin, unfiltered, uncut, unplugged, and undamn believable. You hear me?
Now, I done told y'all, these white Republicans really believe that Black people are gonna be voting for Donald Trump. And let's be clear, it's some Black folks out there, Black women, more Black men, who actually voted for Donald Trump. So since Fani Willis walked his ass through that through the jail, he had to turn himself in, these fools have been out here just this is gonna guarantee Black support. Black people, since he got a mugshot, Black people are going to just be down with Donald Trump. Okay, so I'm gonna play y'all a series of videos. So the first video is these foolish ass people on the 5 on Fox News.
And everyone's talking about it. Black Americans online, some of them are saying, I'm voting for Trump now.
That's 35.
Because they, too, have sometimes felt they've been unfairly targeted by the criminal justice system. And you know, in this country, nationally, 1 or 2% of the Black vote swinging to the Republicans, that's the election right there.
No,
so the
not.
Democrats have overplayed their hand. They've done something that no one else has ever been able to do, and that's make Trump a sympathetic character. They've made him a martyr. And now I want to get arrested because I definitely need some sympathy.
No, you don't, Jesse. Not time.
Okay, now you got this total idiot, Grant Stinchfield. Remember, that fool was on NRA TV, and then, of course, that got canceled. I think now he on Newsmax or some other show that nobody watches. Listen to this absolute asshole.
Blur out his shirt just in the essence of good taste, but listen to this, gentleman.
Support President Trump. You want to know why I'm here to support President Trump? Because they done did Black men like this for decades.
Black men had been experiencing these kinds of fake arrests and false arrests over decades.
Right.
And that's whether that's true or not, it certainly is how many in the Black community feel. And I think this is endearing, especially many Black men, to President Trump.
Okay. All right. So there's this group, this Republican Accountability Project, and they put this video out, and my man just went hard on these idiots. Watch this.
White supremacy, that's the problem. This is a hoax.
Tucker may be gone, but Fox hasn't missed a beat.
And as one black lady I spoke with earlier today here in New Orleans said, Trump's a gangster.
That's so fucking racist.
Nazi Germany.
But there's more.
The mugshot has breathed new life into the Trump campaign and broadened his appeal to Black Americans.
That's Jesse Waters saying Black people have an affinity for criminals. That's like saying white cops have an affinity for shooting unarmed young Black men. Well, actually, that's true.
Today, my garbage man told me he's buying mugshot T-shirts for everyone he knows this Christmas.
When was the last time you think this motherfucker talked to a garbage man?
You're a moron!
And like most Republicans, he's a whore and a hypocrite.
Single motherhood benefits them, the Democrats.
That's Jesse lecturing us about marriage and single parents. For the record, this fucking cliche ditched his first wife and the mother of his children for a younger woman at Fox News. We live in a country of dark contrast, where one guy speaks for justice and one guy will sell us down the road for a porn star and a handful of rubles. And guess which one is on Fox tonight?
Put down the mic.
Shut the fuck up, Donnie.
Go fuck yourself.
Sexy time.
Yes!
Yeah, okay, that was really American, I'm sorry, not Republican Accountability Project. All right, so here is the extended version of the idiotic comments from an absolute white supremacist, Jesse B. Waters, on Fox News, who is their new golden child.
Broadened his appeal to Black Americans. Over the weekend, with the help of mugshot merchandise, the Trump campaign raked in over $7 million. Today, my garbage man told me he's buying mugshot T-shirts for everyone he knows this Christmas. The mugshot's up on the side of buildings in the inner city. The 2016 phenomenon's happening all over again. Trump won that election because of a laser-like focus on the forgotten man. A bond was formed back then that can never be broken. And there's a new forgotten man, the black man. Democrats have forgotten about him. The media and the professional class are so fixated with smearing and disqualifying one man that they've forgotten that the Democratic Party should be fixated on fixing problems. Better wages, better jobs, better schools, better health care. Democrats have overpromised and underdelivered for black Americans for decades.
All right, enough of his bullshit. Okay, this is how stupid these people are. Go to my iPad. So this idiot, Charlie Kirk, and this is what Jesse Waters was talking about. I told y'all they dumb. He goes, Trump mugshot mural in Atlanta. The backfire continues. And so this is the video right here, y'all, because they're claiming, oh yeah, black folks are riding hard with Donald Trump. Here's the problem, y'all. That mural actually says, MAGA, my ass got arrested. That's how stupid they are. They literally are trying to play this whole game of oh, black people, they are cheering Donald Trump. In fact, this other idiot, Benny Johnson, this fool actually posted a video by saying when the Trump, when his motorcade was taken through black neighborhoods, and I found out when I was spent some time in Atlanta, that wasn't his choice. The sheriff's office drove his ass through those parts of Atlanta. This fool, Benny Johnson, put out a video by saying, see, look at this. They're cheering for Trump. Black people, after he got arrested, they say it's been unfair to us, and so it's unfair to him. I'm trying to actually find the tweet. It really was one of the dumbest things I ever seen in my life. I'm gonna find it in a second. But this shows you how stupid they think black men are, Mustafa. But now all of a sudden, they care about wrongful prosecution. Now they care about the criminal justice system. Now they care about black men. Get your punk asses out of here.
I mean, their whole thing has always been around manipulating and creating false narratives. And if we don't check them, and that's again why this network is so important, because somebody else might have just let it slide, and then they've allowed, the lies that they were sharing to continue to grow and take root. So that's why you got to address it, and you got to pull it out. And, and the pimping of our communities is something that they have been doing for such a long time, and trying to whisper in our ears, this crazy stuff that a few folks will fall for. So you can't pimp our communities anymore. You can't get over on us, and you can't have these false narratives that, we see right through it. Most folks understand what's really going on, and we call it out and we check it. So, Fox is going to be Fox.
It is just laughable. And they're sitting here, Scott, trying to circulate these different videos of one or two black men saying, that's right, we standing here, we voting for Trump. Then they show that fool who had the N-word for Trump shirt out there. And I'm sitting there going, did he even have teeth? I mean, that's literally what these fools are doing. And if you are a black man who's even thinking about voting for Trump, you stupid as hell.
Who is the most unqualified group of people in the country to talk about black people? What's the group? White America, white conservatives. They could give a damn less about black people. The Democrats have the black vote. Republicans, they're such hypocrites. The Republicans don't have anything to offer black people, let alone black men. And their hypocrisy or their failure is they really do believe that all black people are poor and disenfranchised, the least, the lost, the left out. We've all got records because that's what they've been told. That's what they observe in the media. And said they don't see black people like you and me and your other guests. I don't have a criminal record. I'm not moved by MAGA. or mugshot. I'm a super voter. I've been voting since I was 18 years old. And yet this rhetoric. And by the way, since when did the Republicans and conservatives care about the criminal justice system? Now they care about it because they think the criminal, their own criminal now can identify with black people? I think not. It reminds me, Marjorie, what's the woman's name, conservative from Georgia? Marjorie Taylor Greene. She and some of her conservative members went and protested outside the D.C. jail to protest the conditions of the January 6th insurrectionists and how they've been treated and jail conditions. And my first reaction to that publicly was, welcome to the struggle, Marjorie. Now you care about prison conditions because white people are in prison. But black people have been oppressed in prisons for decades, for hundreds of years. So welcome to the struggle. It is the biggest bunch of bullshit I've ever seen in my life. And it lacks reality or basis for it. It just does. And so I don't think we should even be talking about this so ignorant.
No. I know what you're showing everything,
but I think we need to move on from this.
No. See?
Why not?
See, no.
Why not?
See, that's no, Scott. I'm trying to explain to you. That's the mistake. See, Rebecca, again, it's understanding the game. It's understanding what they're doing. And the mistake that some black folks have made, and some Democrats have made, is that if you don't call out the hypocrisy, if you don't call out the BS, what happens is then mainstream media picks these things up and all of a sudden it becomes a thing. Look what happened when black people did not address black men not voting for Stacey Abrams. That thing metastasized, and you begin to see stories all over the place. And when the data came out, it was an absolute lie. It is I have, as somebody who's been in the media since I was 14 years old, I have never said, let a lie stand. You must attack it, you must obliterate it, and you must show the people who they are. Here's a perfect example. This white conservative, Benny Johnson, has 1.8 Twitter followers. This is what happened. He put this out, and all the people ran with it. And again, they all run with it. That mural, they've been running that, the mural in Atlanta, see, they down with Trump. They cut off my ass got arrested. So this is Benny Johnson. Donald Trump driving through the urban poor neighborhoods of Atlanta after his arrest in mugshot. What happens next will shock you. Trump gives people hope. Libs want this video deleted. The media want it censored. You know what to do. Okay, so watch this here. So I want you to play, turn the audio up, and I want y'all to listen. Now, first of all, anybody who understands, I want y'all to listen to it, but I'm gonna break it down for you, but I'm gonna show you the game they're doing. Watch.
Y'all see it, man. Which one are you in, though? I'm talking about they got everybody. Look at that fucked up.
All right, so all of these Republicans, ooh, look at that. They cheering for Trump. First of all, they also cheering his ass got indicted. Okay, that's what they're doing, Rebecca. But the thing here is, this is how they spin it. So what they do, this is the game. They run this video on social. All the conservative folk begin to recirculate it. It then goes on the radio shows, the digital sites, Fox News, and now they create this whole thing. Ooh, look at the black folks supporting Donald Trump, when we know that's a lie. And again, I was told point blank, Trump didn't drive through the hood when he was going back to the airport. They drove his ass through the hood. I was told that point blank. okay? But again, you have to call this out, because if you allow it to even gain a small foothold, it can actually take off from there. Rebecca?
So first of all, only Black men can talk about the experience of what it means to be a Black man in this country. Full stop. Only Black men can talk about issues that impact Black men with full authenticity. Full stop. No one else. Even as a Black woman, I can't speak on behalf of Black men. I can't tell Black men what their experience as Black men is in this country or even in this world. So for white people to have the audacity, and for these particular white people to have the audacity to think that they could talk for and behalf and authentically about Black men is purely ridiculous. I can't even do that as a Black woman, and I am Black. So, you know, that's the first part. The second thing, just like what you're mentioning, Roland, it is very important to stump out these false narratives, because what we're seeing in advance of 2024 is once again for a division between Black men and Black women around the election, with who's supporting Trump, who's not supporting Trump. And what I do understand from talking to different people, that division and that divide that was promoted during Stacey Abrams, the first time she ran for governor and the second time she ran for governor, simply is not the case. There is, you know, overall percentage of Black people, both men and women, who have voted for Trump. And yes, there have been some Black men who've outpaced Black women with voting or supporting Trump. But at the same time, it is not this large mass of Black folks who are supporting Trump or the MAGA ideology.
I'm telling y'all, the mistake is to ignore when these things happen, because again, I know the game, the propaganda game they play. And guess what? And I'm gonna say this, Scott, this is why I'm saying telling you wrong. Senator Kamala Harris made a huge mistake when she ignored the tax on her record as DA and Attorney General. She allowed them to metastasize for 6 months. So from the time that she announced to July, guess what? It became baked in. I can show you numerous other examples of what happens when people let things run amok and never address it. No, the response has to be you crush it and you call it out the moment it rears its head so it doesn't gain a foothold. That's what you have to do. I gotta play this here, y'all. Peter Navarro, who was a Republican, of course, worked for Trump, another one of these lying fools. Of course, he's facing contempt charges. He had a news conference outside, and this white woman was holding a poster. And it was just too great, because he tried to snatch it from her, and she's like, nah, that ain't gonna happen. I just gotta play the video, because I just frankly find it to be hilarious as hell. Watch.
Situational.
Yes, okay.
Why?
Right.
Yeah, right.
So here's the problem here. Where's the CNN? CNN here? Is CNN here? Anybody want to own up to that? Here's the problem.
Hero.
Who's this? Come on.
Bro, you're already facing charges.
Yeah, I get it.
Go ahead and commit a crime.
So,
I've been here this whole time. Situational.
Yes, okay.
Why?
Right.
Situational.
Yes, okay.
Why?
I'm sorry. I just think that's awesome. I just think, Mustafa, I just think that's, she like, oh, hell no, you're already facing charges. It's like, you gonna talk, I'm gonna talk right behind your ass.
She's like, you done caught a charge, you want to get another one. That was something else.
I'm just saying, I like it. All right, y'all, I gotta go to the break. We're gonna come back, quick conversation. We're gonna talk about AI and its impact and dangers and how it impacts, especially Black folks. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol, we've seen
We're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate Black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time
time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
On a Next to Balanced Life with me, Dr. Jackie. Summer is flying by and back to school is just around the corner and fall is here. That's right, a new season is upon us. On our next show, we talk about jumping into action and putting procrastination in the rearview mirror. That's on a Next, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie here on Black Star Network.
What's up, everybody? It's your girl, Latasha from the A.
And you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
A lot of conversations about artificial intelligence, its impact, and how it's changing the world, but it does have some significant problems. Joining us right now is intellectual property attorney Sean Pullum. Joins us from Dallas. Sean, glad to have you here. Great shirt. Scott won't like it, but he'll get over it. But I'm sure Mustafa does. Alpha's always ruining everything. So here's the whole deal right here that we're seeing this now with music and Hollywood, the SAG-AFTRA strike that's going on, and everyone is talking about again how these studios, how they want to use AI and control the image and likeness of people in perpetuity.
That's correct. I mean, AI in and of itself is a good tool. It can be used, however, for good or bad, just based on how people are aware of what it's capable of or not. And so the studios, they're using generative AIs to bypass the writer's strike. You can do deep fakes and be able to modify images, replicate voices, so that you could definitely use a actor's image and likeness well beyond their death, and possibly, yes, in perpetuity. And that raises a lot of legal concerns in the copyright, trademark, and legal space, especially in not just in intellectual property, but also even in the criminal law space. There's aspects of it there.
So when you talk about dangers, what do you see as the top two dangers of AI?
So the top two dangers of AI, one is bias. Bias happens either in the programming or the training data that is used to create artificial intelligence systems. And when we say bias, it's a slant. So the data that the AI is trained on could be historically slanted against a race, a culture. For example, people of color being subject to more traffic stops and more police interactions. When that AI is fed that type of data and it's trying to determine who should it release on bail or not, it's going to look at people of color differently than it will others. The other one would be job displacement. We're going to have some economic impacts that we've got to be ready for, and that's part of what you opened the question with, of just being aware in the entertainment spaces, but not just in entertainment. As AIs take over some of the more, how would we say, the more task-related jobs that can be repeated very quickly and can be automated, you'll find then who's going to do that work? Where are those jobs going to go? In fact, World Economic Forum said that by 2025, there's going to be a displacement of nearly 85 million jobs worldwide. And however, now there could be close to 97 million jobs also created, but they're going to be in a different space. And those are the things that we have to be aware of and be prepared for.
Questions from the panel. Mustafa, you first.
Brad, I appreciate all the work that you're doing in this space. You had mentioned about the data and that playing a significant role in the evolution and growth of AI, and it could go either direction. The question becomes, how do we better prepare our folks with the education that's going to be necessary to be able to navigate this new world that AI will play a significant role in?
That is a great question, and it amounts to making people aware of what's going on, getting them involved in the conversations, making them involved in not just the technical conversations that are going to go on, but the political ones, because we're going to have to elect the next sets of leaders that are going to decide the policy, the regulations, the rules that will follow all around this. And so making sure that our people are aware and educated and on top of this and at the forefront of it, because as I'm sure you all know, technology tends to lead lawmaking by years, if not decades. And so we need to try and get in front of this, and we need to be at the table as we try and get in front of it.
Rebecca.
Thanks for joining us tonight. Last month, President Biden signed an executive order directing the executive agencies to root out bias in the design and use of new technologies, including AI. Do you think that move by the White House is enough to help either start the conversation or actually do something meaningful in rooting out biases in AI?
I think it's enough to start the conversation. I don't know if it's going to be enough to do something meaningful. We can start task forces, we can start, all sorts of things, and we may or may not create change if we're not fully aware of what's going on. It depends on how much information you can really get to those task forces. It depends on how much of the underlying data that the developers of these artificial intelligence models is willing to share. It depends on how much they might be, by rules or regulations, ultimately forced to share as to how the data is being used and how where the historical data came from, how the model is being trained, because you're going to get into a fight between those trying to understand and regulate and those who created it and said, that's a trade secret. That's, if I tell you everything about my data, now I've lost my secret sauce.
Scott?
Really appreciate the discussion, but you said there were some good things about AI. Can you discuss the good, the bad, and the ugly with AI, and when and how should we regulate it as a country?
Well, the good, it creates efficiencies. It allows us to do things more efficiently, more effectively, more quickly. And that's where jobs can become impacted to be eliminated. But the jobs that are created, data scientists, people who create these models, people who train these models, that's going to be a whole new industry, and it's going to be a much higher paying industry than the jobs that are lost. But we have to be aware and be on top of it to be educated in those fields so that as these jobs become available, we're stepping into those roles. The bad, it can be used, as I said, for good, but it can be used for bad. There are criminal elements that can exploit these same tools, and they can exploit them to copy parts of, literally in 3 seconds, I could capture enough of your voice that I could then duplicate it and create a recording to say whatever I wanted to say. So what if I then call, your spouse and say, hey, I was applying for something. Can you pull my social security number out of the drawer and then hand me, give me that number? Or having an AI capture the voice of a child and have that call that child's parents and say, I'm been kidnapped. If you send a ransom to this location, they'll let me go. And there's no way in the real-time moment without that parent going and actually doing a verification on that child's whereabouts, location, outside of that phone call to know, is that real or not? So that's the good, that's the bad. The ugly is that the technology is still already, this is stuff that's already out here. It's already available. It's going to get ahead of us more so if we don't step in near immediately and start the regulation process and start the review process and start getting people involved in the conversation.
All right. Well, we're going to keep certainly doing that. Sean Pullen, we certainly appreciate you joining us. And it is here. People keep saying it's the future. No, it's actually now.
It is right now. Thank you all for having me. I appreciate it.
Thanks a bunch. Folks, that is it for us. Let me thank Scott. Let me thank Rebecca. Let me thank Mustafa as well. We were sitting here talking about somebody we were talking about before we went to the break, and we were showing that wonderful video of that fool P. Navarro trying to snatch the sign. You know what? I just thought it was just too level. I got to see it again. Roll it.
All right.
Yeah, right.
So here's the problem here. Where's the CNN? CNN here? Is CNN here? Anybody want to own up to that? Here's the problem.
Hero.
Who's this? Come on.
Bro, you're already facing charges.
Yeah, I get it.
Go ahead and commit a crime. You've been sitting here this whole time. Situational.
Yes, okay.
Why?
All right.
Yeah, right. I'm sorry. Scott, you're already facing charges.
You didn't leave him alone, man. You ran that video twice. Shit.
You know
Get
what?
out of here, man. Bring us home.
You know what? You absolutely right. Run that shit out. Run that shit out.
Right. So here's the problem here. Where's the CNN? CNN here? Is CNN here? Anybody want to own up to that? Here's the problem.
Hero.
Who's this? Come on.
Bro, you're already facing charges.
Yeah, I get it.
Go ahead and commit a crime. You've been sitting here this whole time. Situational.
Yes, okay.
Why?
She got the shades on. It's like, you're already facing charges.
I've been here the whole time. You should have situational awareness.
I'm sorry. I just had to play it again. Why? Because Scott complained. All right. Mustafa, Rebecca, Scott, I appreciate it. Thanks for joining us on today's show. Ooh, I love driving these MAGA people crazy. It's always so fun. Folks, if you're watching on YouTube, y'all hit the like button. Okay, y'all been sitting here riding dirty, offering nothing. Go ahead, 1.5. It makes no sense we got 1,500 likes. We should easily be at 2,000. So hit that button before we go. Don't forget to support us in what we do. Download the Black Star Network app, Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Xbox One, Samsung Smart TV. I tell y'all the work that we do is critically important. Your resources matter, so please join our Bring the Funk fan club. The goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing on average $50 a year. That's $4.19 a month, 13 cents a day. So please support us. We're putting in the work. And listen, there's no black forum that's doing the kind of work that we're doing every single day. No black-owned media outlet does 5 hours of original content targeting African Americans a day. Nobody, not BET, not The Griot, not Blavity, not Black Enterprise, not Essence, not Ebony. Nobody is doing what we're doing. So your check and money orders to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. Cash App, $RM Unfiltered. PayPal, R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. And of course, be sure to get a copy of my book, White Fear, How the Browning of America is Making White Folks Lose Their Minds. Available at bookstores nationwide. Get it. at Barnes & Noble, IndieBound, Books A Million, Target. Download get the book on Amazon. Download the audio version on Audible. Folks, that's it. I will see y'all tomorrow right here on the Black Star Network. Holla!
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Hold no punches. I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?